Hey, everybody. I had such a great response from y'all last week when I did the Cape Coral version of what we're going to do today. I want to talk a little bit about Fort Myers and how it compares to Cape Coral. The name of the channel is Living in Fort Myers, Florida, right? So I want to give you some more details. The reason why I speak so much about Cape Coral is the fact that it's got a lot more of the outdoor living activity kind of stuff. So I've been trying to hammer home on that, but they're really the same metro area. So when I talk about Cape Coral and I talk about Fort Myers, they're so similar to one another, but we're going to get into some of the differences between them, some of the things you're going to want to consider if you're looking to move to the area, the amenities you need close to you, some of the considerations of schools and pricing of homes and things like that. So today we're going to be talking about why should I live in Fort Myers, Florida? We're getting after that next. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is a screen share. Screen share is going to be a great way to, again, jump into this map, show you exactly how to navigate your way around the area. And we're going to start with zooming out here for a minute. I want to remind you where the area is. As you can see, Fort Myers is right down here, all the way down towards the tip of Florida. That's why the climate is so amazing here. That's why so many people are coming down here. Once you cross right around this line right here, that's where you start to get your temperature difference. That's where you start to get the subtropical feel. Everything to the north side of that line is going to possibly have some very cold temperatures in the wintertime. We're talking 30s and 40s. They have seen snow as recent as last year, right up in the north part of Florida. So keep that in mind. Saying Florida and thinking it's all going to be wonderfully warm throughout the year is not true. But since we're in the Fort Myers area, we're going to zoom into this and start breaking this apart for you. So again, Fort Myers and Cape Coral, I speak about Cape Coral a ton, as you know, because it's right here, just west of Fort Myers. They're really one big metro area, so similar to one another. The only thing that separates them is this river, and we've got a bridge down to the south, a bridge right here in the middle, and then there's two bridges to the north. These up here in the north, they are the free bridges. Doesn't cost anything. There's no toll. Down below here, they are going to be $2 for a round trip. If you have the fob in your vehicle, it's $1.50 for that round trip. There is another bridge. It's $6 to $7 now to get from Fort Myers to Sanibel. So if you have to do that, if you're going to live out on the island, it definitely gets more expensive. I've been hearing horror stories with getting on and off the island because obviously they're trying to continually work on fixing that causeway. But just keep in mind that these are things that you're not going to deal with every time or every day in most cases. But we are going to talk about these bridges. They will come into play, definitely. But we're going to go through some categories such as the geography of the area, housing and what that looks like in the two metro areas, what the lifestyle is, some of the amenities, what's the commute look like? If I'm working in this area, I need to know what that looks like. Cost of living. We're going to just go through all these things. So bear with me. I don't have a particular order for this, but I'm going to hit on some things. I'm going to pull them out of order, specifically because I ran into some folks, John and Julie, and I did run into also Dane, which was the brother of Julie. And these folks, I'm bringing them up for one reason. They got my attention at the boathouse. As you know, that's one of my favorite places to be. And they came up to me, thanked me for my videos, gave me a little context of why they're here. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you see me out and about, please say hello. It doesn't bother me. You're not taking away from my experience, but I'd like to know when somebody is getting good information from me and it's helping them to make their decisions as they transition to the area. And always, I want to be part of that if I can. So if you need my help, specifically looking for a property, talking to a builder, whatever that looks like, I have a ton of contacts here that'll help you through the processes of either fixing a home, buying the home, I've got the lenders, the insurance people. We've got it all covered for you. It's a whole team of people looking just to help you make this transition. But enough of that. Let's get into differences between the two areas. One of the things I definitely want to bring up first is the geography and the amenities kind of go hand in hand in my mind. And the reason for that is I already mentioned that we've got these bridges, right? So we know that anytime that you need something specific, you could end up crossing bridges. Folks that live out in the Cape Coral area, they're living out here because they may want more of a residential style neighborhood. It is very, very residential out in Cape Coral, not a ton of commercial. Most of the commercial and shopping stuff down here on Cape Coral Parkway or right off of Del Prado, Veterans Parkway, which is right here, and Pine Island Road. Those are the main places. Everything else is residential. In fact, I think you remember me saying this whole Northwest area, it is stop signs still. Now they're going to be adding 4 lights up in that area to help the traffic at some major intersections where some accidents have been happening. But that's something to consider because as you jump back over to Fort Myers, US 41, this road goes from Miami all the way up to North Florida. So it's a well-traveled road, a heavily traveled road. It's got a ton of commercial businesses off of it, very little residential right on 41. There's going to be some residential areas, obviously, and you can see here just in the print, Pelican Preserve and the Forum. Those are some of the communities that you're going to find when you're out in the area. Gateway is another massive one. There's numerous communities within Gateway. So let's get to the geography part of this. If you're somebody that needs to have access to an airport, that's right here. So obviously, living in Fort Myers is going to be much more advantageous for you. Also, there's going to be numerous hospitals that you're going to run into if you're over in the Fort Myers area. Gulf Coast is one of the major ones there. And then if we come down off of Bass, which is going to be right down in this area, there's another huge health park down there. So there's a number of places. There's going to be one also towards the downtown area of Fort Myers. And that'll be right up in this area. So hospitals are going to be more plentiful. You also notice when you come here, you need somewhere to stay, right? So we've got lots of hotels throughout the area. They are kind of littered throughout. So if you are looking specifically for a place to stay, you'll have many more opportunities over in the Fort Myers area. Cape Coral does have a few, and we're adding some more, but that's something to consider too. That amenity can be very important to you. Another one that's very important, not just the airport, right? We know the airport's going to be important for folks that have to fly out for business. They have a lot of visitors come in. So you definitely want to keep that close. But what's the other thing a lot of people come here for? Yeah, Fort Myers Beach. And I know it's not what it once was, but it is still, it's rebuilding. We're about to get Margaritaville finished here in the next 2 weeks. There's another massive project that we've been talking about, Sunseeker Resort by Allegiant Airlines up in Port Charlotte. We're going to be highlighting these locations as they finish. I'll be taking my drone there, and I will be trying to get you as much of the activity that's going on in the area and give you as much information. So if you're looking for unique places to go, those are going to be kind of at the top of the list. But the other things you're going to find, if you don't want to do, say, Fort Myers Beach because you want something a little more laid back, Bunch Beach is right here. Smaller beach. We launch our kayaks out of there. My son loves going out into the Gulf because the waves. You don't get waves in the canals, right? So it's kind of cool for him to be able to take a kayak out and do that. If you're a paddleboarder, same thing. The water's not very deep there. It's probably about knee deep most times. Now, tidal changes will play a part in that. If it's low tide, you'll be able to pull your kayaks right up onto your own little beach. Now, it might only be there for an hour or 2 or 3, but that's just because of tidal changes. So pay attention to that, but you will have that opportunity. Also, if you have furry friends that love the water, we've got the Dog Park, Dog Beach, right down here, off just south of Lover's Key. So lots of opportunities for you to get out, get on the beaches, get to some parks. One of the other big differences as far as amenities go, when you're talking about Fort Myers and Cape Coral, Fort Myers has a ton of golf courses. Now, the ones I'm circling right now happen to be considered Estero and even as far down into the south as Bonita Springs. But if we come back out here, many of the communities will have golf courses within them. So if you are a golfer, you will have many more opportunities to do so if you're over in the Fort Myers area. There's the Forest, there's Crown Colony. And this came up because when I met John the other day over at the boathouse, he said, hey man, can you talk about the golf courses? Because I like to golf, but I don't even know where I can go to golf. Now, many of these courses are going to be private in the winter months because it's so hard to keep open tee times for the public and for the residents. So you might either want to befriend somebody that's in one of these communities, or possibly get a membership. Some places will sell you a membership, but that is going to be specific to each of the communities. Again, here you see there's Pelican Preserve again. You'll find more at, where did I just, the Legends, that's another big one. Gulf Harbor. So they're literally all over the place. Eastwood is a city course, and there's another one that is, where is it? It's right over here in this area. But Whiskey Creek is another one. That's an executive course, great course. We've played it numerous times. And there's another one right over here, Cross Creek. Those are executive courses, so they're going to be shorter. If you're trying to refine your game, that's a great place to go. Get your short game in order. But golf courses, primarily you're going to find them over in the Fort Myers area. Another thing that you're going to find in the Fort Myers area is, we started speaking about it, gated communities. Cape Coral only has a handful of gated communities to this point. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about pros and cons of gated communities, because then we start talking about fees. I'm not going to get into fees right now. There's a whole nother way we can discuss fees, because when you break it down and what you pay, like what I pay here in my single family home that's not in an HOA, you're going to have similar expenses in an HOA, and you're going to get more amenities for that. But we're going to break that down one day when we talk about condos, single family homes, HOAs, how they affect each of those. But again, there's so much information on that that it can't be done at this point. But just know, if you're looking for a gated community and you want that kind of a closeness, you are going to find them littered all over the Fort Myers area. You can see Timber Ridge, Cypress Cay, Magnolia Lakes. These are all part of Gateway. Gateway has about a dozen different communities that are just in and off of this one road right through here. They have a charter school right to the front. They've added some stores down in this area. Some more new communities just popped up. So great area. Pelican Preserve, love the golf course. Absolutely amazing course. The community is kept very nicely. But once again, if you get something nice, expect to pay a little bit on the fees. Heritage Palms, one of the most exclusive. I've got some clients in there that Greg is in there. He's been in there for, I think, a year or so now. Absolutely loves it. Avid golfer. He's on the list for tee times every single week. But that's the advantage of living in the community. You get on those lists, you get to play often. And Heritage Palms happens to be right down from a shopping area. This whole section up in here, including the Top Golf, which is right about there, that's a very heavily trafficked area. In fact, the busiest intersection in Fort Myers is right here. That's said to have almost 6 figures worth of cars go through that intersection on any given day. So super busy. That's the thing about Fort Myers versus Cape Coral. It's going to be much, much busier in Fort Myers due to all of this commercial activity, all the shopping. As we've talked about in the past, they have something over in Fort Myers that Cape Coral doesn't, and it's right here, Costco. Yep, you're not going to find a Costco in Cape Coral, not yet. Is it coming? I don't know. All I know is that you need to right now go to Fort Myers if you want a Costco. Now, as far as housing goes, a lot of people are curious, well, what's it like? What's the home prices? What's the difference look like? As we've talked about all the communities in Fort Myers, communities tend to be more expensive, not just in fees, prices of homes. It's more of an exclusivity. It's comparable to, say, to Gulf access properties in Cape Coral. You will find many, many, many more Gulf access properties in Cape Coral, which is the biggest draw as to why people come out to Cape Coral, even more so than the fact that it's such a residential area. But if you're comparing the two, you can look at, again, Gulf access. A home that might be normally 500,000 is going to be easily 700,000 and 800,000 on Gulf access canals. Same thing's going to go for a gated community in Fort Myers. What could be a $400,000 and $500,000 home is going to jump into the 6s and 7s. It's just what it is, and that's a starting point. There is one particular community, and you're going to see it in one of the screenshots I'm going to show, but Miramar Lakes right down here. $1 million properties, multi-million dollar properties. It literally is so expensive in there, it skews the graph completely. See how different that area is when it comes to talking about pricing. But housing is, it's just one of those considerations of our cost of living. Cost of living across the board is going to be very similar from Cape Coral to Fort Myers. Not a lot of difference in shopping as far as, what supermarket you're going to go to. You're going to find that Publix is going to be more expensive than Walmart, which is a given. Publix also has fresher produce than Walmart. Aldi is becoming a larger and larger brand in the area, and I think that they do things fantastic there. So that's another option for you. But this is something you'll have to feel out on your own. Out in Cape Coral, we happen to have now the Farmer Joe's, and that is right in this area out here. And they have a Trader Joe's that's going to be over in Fort Myers. And there's one I know of right about here. So you will have that kind of thing. Now, if you're somebody that is a pilot, you fly your own plane, you can see that's another difference of what you'll find in Fort Myers. There is actually a small air park right here, Page Park. So if you want to fly your own planes, that's where you're going to go from. You don't need to go to the international airport. There's just too much commotion and activity there. So you're going to be looking for a place like Page Park. Now, as far as we've touched a little bit on what lifestyle is like in each of these areas, the lifestyle that you're going to be looking for when you're over in the Fort Myers area is, again, lots of activity, lots of shopping. That's kind of what you're going to be after. The other thing that you're going to find, if you're somebody that likes a nightlife, this is where you're going to find the majority of stuff that's going on. Downtown Fort Myers. You'll have Oxbow. That's a great restaurant. Ford's Garage is down there. We have a Ford's Garage in Cape Coral as well. But you'll have a brewing house out there. So if you want to go to a different brewery, try some different things there. Luminary Hotel has a restaurant at the bottom. I don't remember the name, something about Kingfisher, something like that is the name of it. Right next to Centennial Park, there's now a big amphitheater right here. We've gone to concerts there. It's a great area to enjoy the outdoors right on the river, get some live music. And again, there's going to be plenty of opportunities with vendors to get adult beverages and food, or you can just walk yourself right into the downtown area and you're going to find many more things. One of the most popular things is right here. It is Firestone. It's the restaurant. The Sky Bar is on top of it. It has a wonderful view of the river. There is also over at the Luminary, there is a rooftop bar there as well. Absolutely beautiful. So you got to try it out. If you like smoked meats and things like that, the Lodge has wonderful smoked chicken wings, and I've had the turkey there. Lots of different dinners that you're going to get with the smoky flavor. The Lucky Screw, very cool little laid back. It is a restaurant and bar. They do have live music, but it just has a different atmosphere to it. So you got to try that out. And 1025, another great variety of different foods, and Downtown House of Pizza. I don't necessarily want to get political here, but I will say that one of our most recent guests there was Donald Trump. A photo was taken of him down at Downtown House of Pizza. It is one of the places that is super popular down in that area. And you absolutely, if you're a pizza lover, you have to stop in there, customize a pizza if you want to, get some of the single slices that are already available, add your own toppings, whatever you want. But lots and lots and lots of stuff to keep you busy down there. And that is probably one of the biggest differences, because if you jump across to Cape Coral and look at their nightlife, it's a little bit different. Obviously, you're going to have the Boathouse. This is just one particular destination though. There's nowhere to go from there. So if you're looking to bar hop or anything like that, you're not doing it here. You'll get a great view. You'll get live music at times. You'll have plenty of different beverages to try. The food is getting better. I will say that. Last couple times I've gone there, the food's been better. But if you really wanted to experience the Cape Coral area and the restaurants that you'll find, they're going to be right in this downtown area. We kind of touched on it last time. And I'm just going to highlight a few of them. There's one in particular that is going to be featured very soon on a national TV show just because of how wonderful it is. And that is right here, Merrick's Fishtail Grill. It's gonna be featured on a national TV program about great restaurants. So that's one to keep in mind. 2 meatballs in the kitchen. Nice Guys. I mean, it's just a ton of places. Like Guanamia, if you want some Mexican. Tito Ortiz just opened Tito's Cantina, which is right here. So if you're looking for Mexican, he's got that going on. There's sushi down here. So you can see there's lots of restaurants. As far as activity, like the nighttime activity, the live music and dancing, there is going to be some of that here. You'll find it at places like Cape Cabaret. They have entertainment there. One of the more popular ones here is Dixie Roadhouse. If you're into line dancing, if you're that kind of person and you just love that atmosphere and you love country music, that's a place to go. I will tell you, after 10 o'clock, it turns into a little bit more of a nightclub. The music definitely changes. So if you want pure country, you're not getting it after 10 o'clock at the Dixie Roadhouse. Another very, very popular place here is Backstreets. They will have live bands, and I'm talking full out bands. You have an indoor and outdoor entertainment there. Tons of people show up there all the time. And for those of you that know you're going to overdo it and you don't think you're going to be calling an Uber, they actually have a limo that will take you home within a reasonable location. You know, you're not going to take you to Punta Gorda or anything, but the only thing they ask for you is to tip the driver to get that service. And then another place is Rusty's right here. They've got cornhole boards there. They've got the axe throwing board, lots of TVs for watching games and things of that sort. But that is what that's the area that you're going to pretty much go to. There is one small section that you can get a little bit more entertainment out here to the west. And you'll see Lobster Lady, which showed up a moment ago. There it is. So you got some restaurants here, Lobster Lady. Overtime is right here as well. Overtime is another sports bar, great food. Location is rather central to the southwest. And for those of you like myself that just love to be on the water, you're going to come down here to Rum Runners or Fathoms, Cape Harbor Oyster Bar. So again, lots of other locations to go to. Not as many as there are in the other locations that we just highlighted, but you will have plenty to access in that area of the Cape. Now, we mentioned the commute earlier. I'm going to dig a little further into a commute because what you should understand about commuting, if your job is going to be centralized in Fort Myers, I like people to think about what your off work hours are going to look like, because that's where you're going to spend most of your time, right? So if you want a beautiful view on the water, all right, maybe you'll be willing to put up with a little bit of commute, but understand what that means. If you're going to work and crossing these bridges into Fort Myers, any given morning, you can have at least an hour trip. It could be an hour and a half. It could be 2 hours if there's an accident. Those bridges can get very busy. That's the morning. So when I say morning, between 7 and 9 are the busiest, but I've even seen that starting to spill towards 10 o'clock now because all the seasonal people are coming back. Many more seasonal people come in and leave back and forth a lot. And they have Florida plates now, so we can't even tell them apart from the true snowbirds. But they're on the roads at all times. It doesn't matter. So you could get more jammed up just because somebody decides they want to go to the beach, or it's coming into a holiday weekend. There's going to be a lot more people on the road. But put that into your consideration where you're going to live. So if you're going to be here all the way on the west side of Cape Coral, you're going to have to either go down and across this bridge, or you're going to have to go up and across this bridge. Again, $2 round trip, lots of traffic. When you come back home again, anywhere from 4 o'clock to 6 and 7 o'clock, same thing, coming back the opposite direction. So if you have a job like a nurse or something like that, where your hours could be skewed a little bit, where they could be just missing these times, take advantage of that. Leave a little earlier, get going where you're going. Or if you're staying at work until 7 o'clock, that could be perfect, because now as you leave, most of the traffic should be done. But that is a huge consideration for any of you considering a commute. Also, if you're somebody that you know that you're going to be commuting north and south down to Naples, up into Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, yeah, again, consider that. Cape Coral is going to be fine if you're going north. But if you're coming south down to Naples, now you just added an extreme amount of time. Now, plenty of people do it. I have friends that say it still only takes me about an hour, hour and a half to get there. And depending on what the pay of the job is and what the quality of the job is for you, it may be well worth it for you. But please consider that commute when you're getting yourself situated on where you want to live. Now, briefly to touch back on the cost of living. Again, as I mentioned, stores, shopping, things like that aren't going to be the big deal. Housing, that's where you're going to find some of the differences. A median price of a home, of a single family home in Cape Coral, I just looked this up. Now, please bear with me. When I say median price, and median and average are two different things. We're not going to use average because that's not going to work out well. Median is literally taking the lowest price property and the highest price property and falling right in the middle of it, cutting it right in half. Now, when I did this earlier, I saw that there was a $147,000 single family property that was listed. And then there was a $3 million property that had also sold. So that's a huge disparity. But even if I take the median on that, that's going to be way high. So what the median did flush out as, when I did the stats on it, was just over 400,000 for Cape Coral and just about 500,000 for Fort Myers. So $100,000 difference for a median price. All right, not terrible. Those are always subject to change. And once again, we're talking about Cape Coral has a lot of Gulf access properties that elevates the price, that pushes up that perceived price for a single family home, because I did not screen out for Gulf access or dry or any of that. This is all the properties. So it really, those numbers can be really skewed when you're getting statistics like this, because people love to ask the question, what's the price per square foot? That means nothing. It truly doesn't. The smaller the property gets, the higher the price per square foot. So all the stats that we use for this, very skewed. So we just look for the closest property like the one that you're considering, and we compare it to that to make sure the value is in line. An appraiser does the exact same thing. They do it within 1 to 3 miles of the property, just so that we're talking about a specific neighborhood, because we don't want to be comparing a northeast single family home to a southwest single family home. It just won't work. But that is probably, again, the biggest difference when it comes to cost of living is housing. Outside of that, everything else is going to be relatively similar. You can shop most everything, such as your pool services, your lawn services. I will say this, insurance for your vehicles is higher in Cape Coral. There just must be more accidents in Cape Coral. I used to have my insurance with a condo that I had owned in Fort Myers. Once I sold that, I switched to Cape Coral and my insurance went up. And it was strictly because of location. There was nothing I could do. It wasn't a matter of changing deductibles or anything like that. It was literally the location. Now, as far as other activities that you'll find throughout the area, there's going to be a lot more cultural stuff that you're going to find in the Fort Myers area. We do have Barbara B. Mann is a theater where we have entertainment come in. And as it says right here, Performing Arts Hall, right? So I've actually seen some shows there. Right down below it is the FSW Sports Arena. As far as schools go, they're all Lee County schools. They're going to be relatively similar to one another. I've heard many folks that have kids in the Cape Coral system. They say that they feel like the schools are better there. I'm not going to speak directly to that. I'll say that my son has been in the school district out in the Cape Coral area. He did change his high school from where he's been going to school through his first 10 years. But Overall, I think the schools are going to be relatively similar. Elementary schools, if you haven't heard me say this before, elementary schools are always going to have the highest rating, say AB, then middle school might be BC, and then from there, high schools are going to show CD in almost every case. Reason behind it isn't the school itself. It's the kids' ages, the distractions. My son is now 14 going on 35. And yes, he likes girls. He has sports that he does. He has lots of activities he's running around and doing. I know as a teenager, I didn't want to be doing schoolwork. I wanted to be doing all these other things, right? Well, it's no different these days. The only added distraction is these little things that they carry around. TikTok, Instagram, all this junk popping up in their face all the time, on top of friends calling and texting and everything else. So lots of distraction. Keep that in mind. The school ratings, they're good as a guide. I would try to talk to some parents that have kids in these schools and maybe get a little bit more of a specific feedback from them. But like I said, both areas have relatively good schools, so that should not be a problem for you. I did notice one other thing here. If you've been hearing about it, we do have these eagles, and there's a camera that stays on them and kind of documents their comings and goings. There's another place that is right up the road. You see here, Manatee Park. If you love manatees, and it's this time of year as the weather gets colder, they all force their way right up into this park because across the river is a water treatment plant that dumps out a bunch of warm water that filters down into this area, and they come up the river to be able to get into that. And it's a nice calm area. There's hundreds of them in there. There's even a section further down from where the park is that you can kayak up in there with them. So again, many different things to do in the area. I can't possibly talk about them all. And as it is, we've probably reached the end of our time, but I wanted to highlight some of the stuff. If you have more questions about this specifically, any of the stuff we're talking about, you want more clarity on this, and obviously if you're considering a property in the area and you need some help, please reach out to me. You need more questions answered, check one of these videos above, or do what everyone else is doing. Call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.